This is Tiny Big Moments, a podcast about the tiny moments in early childhood that teach us big lessons. I'm your host, Clarissa Donnelly-DeRoven. I'm the communications specialist here at ParentCorps, an evidence-based early childhood program housed at NYU Langone. Recently, a few of us from the Tiny Big Moments team headed over to our colleague Wendy Haber's apartment to play with her grandkids.
Like that. We're just very cool. That is high fashion.
My grandchildren, all four of them are they're 3 or under. They're young. First was born, and 2 months later, twins were born. So all three, I went from not being a grandmother to being a grandmother of 3 in 2 months.
All 4 of Wendy's grandkids were there. Isla, the oldest, decided she wanted to play I Spy with us. She told us she spied with her little eye
something that is black.
So what's my job now? What do I do?
That's Lisa, one of our team members.
Like this whole apartment? Oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard.
Everything is not gonna... The wall is not gonna be black.
Okay.
Because it's gonna be white.
Okay, so that narrows it down. Great. So it's not the wall.
It's not the wall.
It's not the wall. Oh my gosh. Is it this?
Well...
Is it this? Is this an... What is this?
Well... A whale.
It's a whale?
Yeah.
That other little voice is Emmett, grandchild number 2.
Yeah.
It's a bear? This is a bear.
If it wasn't clear enough, we thoroughly enjoyed playing with them.
What does a bear say?
Roar.
Roar! Oh my gosh, there's so many bears here. Who's brave enough to hold the bear?
Play is often spoken of as the work of early childhood. It's the main avenue children have for exploring and learning about the world. When they tell you every detail that makes up a fire truck, they're showing off and working on their language and social skills. When they pretend to use a block as a phone, they're engaging in symbolic play. When they go down the slide, they're learning about the physical world, how their bodies work in space, how they can slow down to protect themselves, or how they can speed up to create the feeling of butterflies in their tummies. Playing independently helps children learn how to entertain themselves and supports problem solving, while playing with others helps them practice cooperation. Play also provides children with an outlet for anxiety and stress. But despite all this, research actually indicates that the time children have to play is declining. That's thanks to our increasingly rushed lifestyles and the importance placed on structured activities. Even if you didn't know those details, you probably had the sense that play is important for children. What's less well known is how important it is for adults to play with kids and for kids to be in charge during this playtime. This is called child-led play. In his book, Free to Learn, developmental psychologist Peter Gray describes that when adults trust and support children to lead their own play, they're communicating, quote, "You are competent and can figure things out. You know your own abilities and limitations. Through play and exploration, you will learn what you need to know. Your needs are valued. Your opinions count. You are responsible for your own mistakes and can be trusted to learn from them." Child-led play supports more nurturing adult-child relationships, which is one of the most important factors in healthy child development. But it's not always easy. It can kick up a lot of emotions for some of us grown-ups.
I really try to bring in my own examples.
That's Dr. Kyle McGee. He's a clinical social worker at ParentCorps. He facilitates some of the groups we offer for parents and caregivers of young children across New York City. One of the session topics in our program is called The Power of Play.
It's really a really, powerful thing for me, and I hope for the group, but my dad was very playful with me. He used to take me to like Roy Rogers fast food. I grew up in Washington, D.C. when I was really young, and I remember going there with him, and I would get French fries, and when French fries are really, burnt and crispy, I would chew them like really hard, and my dad would be like, "Oh!" He'd get scared. So it's just fascinating that I remember that. And those are like tender memories, like from this place. So I kind of say that to the group to try to emphasize that, when we connect with our children, it's such a beautiful gift, like for them, for us, but particularly like it stays with children.
What we hope you come away with today is that there's room for you to be you in playtime. And that, in fact, your personality, your values, your experiences, that is the important part. For your child, you being you and you allowing them to be them is what makes playtime so valuable. Though playing with your child can be really impactful, sometimes it can also feel really hard. There are lots of different barriers. Some come from our history, like our experiences as a child of being played with by adults or not, or about the cultural narratives we have about play. There are also the stories we tell about ourselves, such as I'm not fun, I'm not playful, or I don't know how. If we feel stretched way too thin, that can also stop us before we even start. One person who has experienced lots of these barriers is Kim Tortora-Gabriel. Kim is our colleague at ParentCorps. Playing in her experience as a kid was a solo activity.
I grew up in a very strict, old-fashioned Italian house. I lived with my mom and my grandparents, and I'm an only child. So there was not much play. It was go play by yourself. So I learned at a very young age that if I wanted to play, I collected my Barbies, which were my most prized possession. I set them up. I had the house, I had the pool, I had the car, and I would just like make my whole world.
Kim's 5-year-old Nicholas is also an only child, and he has a similar relationship to his toy cars that Kim had to her Barbies. But there's something about playing with Nicholas and his cars where Kim gets stuck.
I don't know all of like the car sounds that my husband knows. I don't know all of like the parts of a car to be able to describe them in detail. So I think the thing that I am self-conscious about is not the rules, but like not being fun enough.
In the parenting programs we facilitate, some version of Kim's feeling invariably comes up.
Sometimes the idea of playing with your children and reflecting on like how that was for you as a child can bring up some feelings, like a little bit of loss.
That's Kyle again.
I spent a good amount of time coaching and facilitating with site partners in Flatbush area of Brooklyn, which is a very predominantly West Indian, Caribbean group of folks here. And, there was like kind of a saying, children are to be seen, not heard, So the idea being that kids do kids things, adults do adults things. You go keep yourself busy. We don't make trouble, this and that. And so when we started to talk about play and like the benefits of it, or just what ways we can think about playing with our own kids, thinking about that in that way of like how that experience was, had feelings, some feelings of loss, some feelings of, like what if it were different?
Ying Duan is another ParentCorps educator who facilitates the parenting program. Ying grew up in China and her groups are conducted in Mandarin.
Play back then in my generation, especially with my parents, became something they don't like me to do because they feel play will interrupt learning. And then they even have this like a Chinese phrase about that. If translate literally, it's almost like if you play too much, you will lose your motivation for learning. It's called like 玩物丧志.
Ying's memories of playing as a child are mostly with her friends, and mostly before she started school. A lot of the families in Ying's groups have similar memories.
I want to say 90% of those families were saying that the play they remember are mostly with their peers, with their friends. And then we also thought about why is that? And then a lot of them, I share the same feeling, is that the parents are so busy that making living, and then so there's no way the adult have the time or have this concept of playing between parent and child together. And then the differences is like as they coming into the session, all of them share that how they want to make a difference now. Like they want to do something different from their parents.
Reflecting on things that didn't happen or things that you didn't get as a child can be painful. Kyle touched on this.
You know, it's hard stuff to sit with. But it has felt important to try to be with that in a group atmosphere and work with it in a way to try not to push anything into a positive, but just to be with what is for folks, and then trying to look at not only the benefits of playing with children that we know from the evidence, but also how they may feel more motivated to do that now because of their experience before and they don't want to recreate that.
Maite Kovas, who is also a ParentCorps facilitator, has done some similar reflecting and evolving since becoming a mom to her 9-year-old identical twins, Stella and Ava.
I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I was an only child pretty much until I was around 11, and that's when my baby brother came along. And playtime was, I think, very much alone time for me. I remember doing a lot of pretend play. I was lucky to have like this really big backyard, and I would set up restaurants and sell rocks. And my dad would, because of our big backyard, he would have his friends' boats there on hold. And like, that was like a kid's dream. I would just go on the boat, and it was fun, but it was very much me doing my own thing.
Do you have any memories of playing with your mom or your dad or your grandparents or any of the adults in your life?
That other voice is Lisa, who you met earlier playing I Spy.
Not really. I think if we ever got together as a big family, we would play dominoes, we would play card games. So board games were something we would play together, but I don't recall playing with my parents, like playing doll with my parents or playing with any toy in particular with my parents. No, that was not.
Do you find yourself playing with your own girls now that you're a parent?
I do, but I think I too kind of mimic what my parents did, and I love playing games that have a clear rule for everybody. Pretend play, ironically, is not my forte. So I think that's where my husband comes in. He's very good at pretending to be a monster or a scary horse and like screaming and running around. I get flustered. I'm like, I'm out. But what I do like to do is kind of invest in their world. So if they're telling me they're building a fort, I'm like, I'm going to get you more cushions. I'm going to get you the broom. I'm going to do everything I can to make your world fantastic. I'm not going to join you, but I will help you build this fantastic world for y'all. So
what I hear in Maite's story is that when it comes to playing with her girls, she shows up as herself. And Stella and Ava feel that. They told us.
I love to. It's so fun.
Tell me more. What's fun about playing with mommy?
She comes up with good ideas we could play, and I love playing with someone I
love. Children love spending time with someone they love. You're not always going to be aligned in terms of what you want to do. But the value of child-led play is that for short periods of time, you enter their world. And the role this plays in building your relationship is far more impactful and memorable than what you're actually doing. All children need positive attention to feel safe, nurtured, and to grow and develop. If they're not getting positive attention, they'll often resort to annoying or challenging behaviors. In our programming for families of young children, we talk about child-led play as an opportunity to give children some of the positive attention they crave. One key strategy here is something we call fun skills. Fun is an acronym. F stands for follow the child's lead, U for you do what they do, and N for narrate what the child is doing. During fun skills, adults avoid correcting children or asking questions. It's a very specific kind of play that serves a distinct purpose from other kinds. When we introduce this idea to parents, sometimes there's pushback. In Lisa's experience, who also facilitates some of the parenting programs, she hears a lot of worries that if parents aren't correcting their children's mistakes, they're not setting them up for success.
And I've heard some really powerful cultural reflections about that, about the sort of pressure you feel as the parent of a young kid to always be teaching them and always be making sure that they're like, if they're saying something, it's the right thing. You don't want them to think that clouds are pink if they're not going to be pink. And just there's power in like giving yourself permission. And I think that we sort of start the conversation sometimes in this session. There's power in giving yourself permission to not have to be on all the time, but to just, it's not going to be that your kid is going to be 30 years old and think that clouds are pink or grass is blue. Like that this is really about immersing yourself in your child's world. And that's where the connection comes from.
In Ying's groups, families sometimes worry about the idea of letting their child be in charge.
The pushback is that they're worried about if the child is in control, like what if something, the child will start to having like bad behaviors. And then are they still let them in control? So one thing I also emphasize, I think is very important for Chinese family is that what's the purpose of it? It's help the children develop their imagination, help them to have different type of perspective in play, and then actually also through the play they solve their problems, and then they become much more patient as their play. So all of those things, the parents really want the child to have those qualities.
Even some early childhood professionals feel a bit skeptical when we introduce fun skills, particularly the no questions part.
My name is Gerald Smith. I'm the Assistant Director of the Petals Program out of Buffalo, New York. And we train and support early childhood teachers in building their kiddos' social-emotional skills.
Gerald came from Buffalo to attend our professional development this summer. On the last day of the training, when we introduced fun skills, Gerald listened closely and then raised his hand to share some pushback.
For me, a part of that free play is digging deeper when possible. So asking questions of the kiddo while they're drawing, while they're building with blocks. Not the academically framed questions. I don't care about whether they know their shapes and colors in that moment. I'm not, quizzing them, but digging deeper. If they're drawing a picture, I may be asking what they're drawing. I may be asking about the emotions that they see or why that person is going through that thing, or trying to kind of build out my understanding and exploring the context of the kiddo in their community.
This is such an understandable perspective. Asking curious, open-ended questions is often important to help understand what a child's life is like outside of school. And asking questions, even ones that don't have a right answer, can feel like pressure. Research shows that when adults ask children questions or give commands during play, it can induce anxiety. But when adults simply notice what they're doing and describe it, children relax and feel like their voice matters. You can think of fun skills as a sort of valve you can press to depressurize a situation. It's not the way you always need to engage when playing, but it's a valuable tool for both the child and the adult. During the training, Gerald volunteered for a demonstration to see what it feels and looks like to use fun skills.
Gerald was the 4-year-old and I was the teacher.
That's Cindy Gray, one of the facilitators at the training Gerald attended. During the demonstration, the two of them drew together.
And Gerald started drawing himself. And so I started drawing myself, and then he started drawing his family. And then Gerald started saying, my mom is happy. And you drew a happy face. Mm-hmm. And then you said, but my brother is angry. And I said, oh, your brother. And I repeated, oh, your brother is angry. And then.
Yeah, I said I took his ball and he doesn't like the share, so that's why he's angry. So if I prompted a student to explore that feeling a little deeper, but I just went there on my own, because I felt comfortable in the moment. And when you narrate, there's a feeling of being seen, of being understood, that I certainly acknowledge that kiddos will, absolutely adore. And, we're all thriving to be understood and seen. So I can see how the narration would get you there.
Just like Gerald, lots of families try out fun skills at home and find that something significant happens.
They had much more fun, especially a lot of, parents share like how much fun and imagination they start notice their child having when they letting go that control and then let the child be wild, basically. And then they also quite cheerful about playing like doctors or, like cooking, and then seeing how children are kind of take a caretaker role in those play to doing the things they do for them on a daily basis. They will check in with their parents like, what food do you like? And then, and how do you want me to cook for you? When they were sharing that in the group, I can hear their voice just light up, and also they feel like there's much more better relationship between them. Another thing I want to mention is that when we introduced the fun skill, and the parents did also mention that the play they do are mostly in their home language. And then I think that's quite important because that they have this shared fun pleasure time in a language that is very dearing to where they come from.
In addition to the experiences we see in our groups, fun skills are evidence-based. One study found that 5 minutes of child-led play per day, when completed as part of homework and behavioral parent training, predicted lower levels of aggression, defiance, impulsivity, and hyperactivity in children ages 1.5 to about 6. There's another study I find quite impactful. This one was conducted at a community agency in Scotland that offers support services to children and families. The study looked at the impact child-led play can have on the parent-child relationship for children with traumatic early life experiences. Many of the parents involved had struggled with addiction, and the bond between caregiver and child had suffered because of it. The researchers, who were play therapists themselves, were testing to see whether agency staff engaging with children in child-led play and supporting their parents to try these techniques at home could begin the process of repair. By the end of the evaluation period, the authors explain, quote, "More secure patterns have emerged during the course of the project, and the development of resilience behavior has been observed consistently among this group. The outlook is certainly more hopeful than before, and the potential is well supported in the literature." Playing using fun skills can sound kind of theoretical or unusual, so let me show you. In the recording, you'll hear me playing with my 5-year-old brother, Rowan.
Amogus, Hugus, Boogus.
We're gonna play Magnetiles.
Making it tiles. Oh, making it tiles. Make. Making it. Making it tile. Trying to make a tile castle.
You're trying to make a castle?
Yeah, I've made one of these before.
You have made it?
But they're very hard, so.
Yeah, it sounds hard. Let's see. I'm going to try and make one too.
I'm making a giant magnet tile castle.
We're making a giant magnet tile castle.
Yeah, it needs to be giant.
Okay.
So we need
Let's
a big
make
bottom.
it giant. We need a big base.
Jackson, do you want to help?
In this example, I narrated Rowan's actions and parroted back to him most things that he said or did, and followed his lead. The important part of this approach is not that you do it perfectly. When I listen back to this, I hear how my voice goes up, like I'm asking a question a lot of times, when I'm attempting to just repeat back to Rowan what he's doing or saying. So there's always room for growth. And in all seriousness, it's just playing. If we mess up, we can try again. With fun skills, the important part is that you do your best to enhance these areas, to follow and to notice, which are ways of being with your child that might not come naturally. Maite, mother of Stella and Ava, explained how this comes up in the groups she facilitates, which are in Spanish.
I think we all agree that it's tough. It's really hard to be silly sometimes, especially after you've had a long day at work and you still have to cook and you're like, I really don't want to make voices right now. Like, I really just want to lay down and have a cup of tea. But the connection that happens when you do that and the happiness that comes out of a child. Our attention, there's something about it that they love, and it's special. It's a really good session. I do hear a lot of feedback towards the end being like, oh, like who knew that 10 minutes, right, could really change the way we talk to each other and how much I know and learn from my kid, right? Like, I use that time to get the gossip from the Girl Scale. I'm like, what's going on at school? Like, what's happening? Who's friends? Who's not? And so it's a time to get to know your kids and just connect with them.
When you're using fun skills, you're introducing a new dynamic, one where your kid gets to be in charge, which is something that doesn't happen all that often. It helps them feel important and it builds their confidence. More so than in adult-led activities, they get to use their imagination. They get to be creative and practice making decisions and mistakes. They also get to learn from those things. Engaging in this type of play takes the pressure off of the adults. Ultimately, that's one of our favorite parts of fun skills. It allows parents and caregivers to let themselves off the hook for a moment. During child-led play, you don't need to worry about what comes next or what skills or information needs to get packed in. You can just be together. Wendy framed this in a way that I loved.
My favorite thing is I don't know if this counts as play. I like to take them on adventures. New York City there's so much to do with all your senses. I take them on buses and subways and we go places. They're 3. They find the letters of their name in signs. I would say all 4 of them do like puddle jumping. It's just, if you call it an adventure, it sets the day up for this fun experience.
Being out in the world for an adventure, letting the day unfold in silly and joyful ways without a plan, to me, is the perfect metaphor for child-led play. Thank you for listening. Tiny Big Moments is produced by me, Lisa Ellrodt, and Cindy Gray, with editing support from Shanika Gunaratna. A big thank you to Maite Kovas, Ying Duan, Wendy Haber, Kyle McGee, Kim Tortori Gabriel, and Gerald Smith for sharing their playtime stories with us. And the biggest thanks to our tiniest Tiny Big Moments contributors, Isla, Emmett, Sadie, Aria, Stella, Ava, Rowan, and Jackson. To learn more about ParentCorps, you can visit our website, weareparentcorps.org. You can donate to support ParentCorps programming at the link in our description box. A list of research references is also available there.